Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to completely challenge everything you think you know about biology. We're asking a seemingly impossible question. How could a violently explosive metal actually be the foundation for an advanced, thriving alien ecosystem?
All right, let's dive right into this thought experiment. Think back to your high school chemistry class. You probably remember a teacher dropping a tiny, dull chunk of sodium into a beaker of water. And, well, you know what happens next. It instantly fizzes, skates across the water, ignites, and then violently shatters the glass in a fiery explosion. Because of that extreme explosive temper, we just naturally assume sodium is the absolute opposite of life.
And honestly, that assumption brilliantly illustrates a concept in astrobiology called carbon chauvinism. We just assume life has to be built from carbon. Why? Because carbon has 4 valence electrons. It's basically the ultimate, flexible, biological Lego block that just loves forming complex chains and rings. Sodium, on the other hand, it's got 1 lonely valence electron, and it really doesn't want to share. It violently throws that electron away at the very first opportunity just to form rigid, lifeless ionic crystals, kind of like table salt. So, in a normal environment, a sodium-based life form isn't just unlikely, it's practically a chemical oxymoron.
But hey, notice I said, in a normal environment. The universe is unimaginably vast, and it absolutely loves to test every possible extreme of physics. So, to force sodium to act like carbon, to make it build the actual scaffolding of life, we have to look for a loophole. We've got to subject it to environments so extreme, so incredibly hostile, that the fundamental rules of quantum mechanics just begin to mutate entirely.
To see exactly how this works, let's look at a pretty mind-blowing experiment from 2009. Scientists used a diamond anvil cell to squeeze sodium to 200 gigapascals. Now, to put that into perspective, that is 2 million times Earth's atmospheric pressure at sea level. 2 million! So what happens to a highly reactive metal under that kind of crushing, unimaginable weight? Well, the atoms get pushed so tightly together that the electrons literally have nowhere left to go.
Under this intense pressure, sodium is forced into this really bizarre phase of matter called an electride state. The extreme pressure physically expels those outer electrons right into the empty spaces between the atoms. It's wild. It miraculously transforms sodium from a highly conductive, shiny metal into a transparent, glass-like insulator. And here's the absolute kicker. In this exotic state, those trapped electrons act like pseudo-atoms. This allows the sodium to form the complex, interlocking, multi-directional geometries required for life. Boom! We finally have our alien Lego blocks.
All right, so with our alien Lego blocks ready to go, we can imagine the foundation of an entire planet. Let's call this massive super-Earth Natrium Prime. Just consider the contrast for a second. Here on Earth, our solvent is water and our energy comes from carbs and oxygen. But, water and oxygen would cause our new sodium-based aliens to literally explode. So instead, on Natrium Prime, the solvent is an entire ocean of blisteringly hot, highly conductive, pure liquid metallic sodium. To us, it sounds like a totally hostile nightmare, but for them, it's a perfectly stable primordial soup.
So, how exactly do they survive in a metallic ocean? Well, a slow chemical burn like how we digest our food just isn't going to cut it here. Instead, these aliens use something called galvanic metabolism. They basically inhale halogen gas, like chlorine, straight from deep volcanic vents. By reacting that gas with their liquid sodium environment across specialized cell membranes, they act as living biological fuel cells. They're generating raw electricity. This power courses through a nervous system that acts like a biological superconductor. That means these creatures don't think at the sluggish speed of chemical diffusion. They're thinking in instantaneous flashes of volts and amps.
Now, to support all that, their internal anatomy has to be radically different from ours. Pumping incredibly heavy liquid metal blood using traditional muscles, that would require way too much energy. Instead, these creatures utilize magnet hydrodynamics. It sounds complicated, but essentially, they have a specialized organ that generates a localized magnetic field. By pulsing their internal electric current, they silently propel their liquid metal blood through their veins with absolutely zero moving parts. It is the exact same engineering principle we use to cool advanced nuclear submarines, just perfectly adapted by alien evolution.
And you got to hear about their senses, because they're equally fascinating. In an ocean of completely opaque liquid metal, visible light is totally useless, so these creatures completely lack eyes. Instead, they navigate using advanced electroreception. They perceive their pitch-black world through dazzling magnetic resonance grids, basically feeling the electrical heartbeats of other creatures around them. The apex predators of Natrium Prime don't hunt with teeth or claws. No, They hunt by unleashing blinding electromagnetic pulses, EMPs, to instantly short out the circuits of their crystalline prey, consuming their stored battery power like cosmic vampires.
Now, all of this brings us to a pretty mind-blowing realization about the Fermi paradox. That famous question of why we haven't encountered intelligent alien life yet. For our sodium-based friends, the answer is honestly tragic. These aliens are literal prisoners of their own extreme biology. Remember, their transparent electride bodies can only exist at millions of atmospheres of pressure. If they ever tried to build a spaceship and leave their high-pressure planet, that sudden drop in pressure would cause their complex bodies to instantly destabilize. They'd just melt back into lifeless metallic puddles long before they ever even reached orbit.
But, okay, let's just pretend for a second they somehow managed to build a perfectly pressurized suit, and their ambassador lands right in Washington, D.C. for a historic first contact handshake. Well, it would have to be a forbidden handshake. If that suit leaked even a fraction, the absolute slightest exposure to Earth's baseline humidity would trigger an instantaneous apocalyptic explosion. We are chemical opposites, permanently separated by the strict, unforgiving laws of thermodynamics. Our life-giving water is their ultimate poison. So, since physical contact is pretty much at thermodynamic impossibility, how do we actually prove they exist? Our best hope of finding Natrium Prime isn't through physical space exploration, but through observation. We've got to use incredible tools like the James Webb Space Telescope. By using spectroscopy, we can analyze the starlight passing through the atmospheres of distant exoplanets and actually decode their complex chemical makeup. And here's the exact playbook for how we find them. First off, we need to target massive super-Earths orbiting dim, ancient red dwarf stars, because those are the perfect high-pressure environments. Next, we look for the sodium D doublet. It's a very specific fingerprint in the light spectrum that indicates massive quantities of sodium. But here's the most crucial part. We have to abandon our bias for oxygen biosignatures. Instead, we need to be searching for technosignatures. We're talking strange, anomalous radio emissions or localized planetary magnetic grids that would hint at a vast biological power grid pulsing beneath a liquid metal ocean.
Life in its purest essence might just be energy organizing itself against the dark. It's a beautiful, yet kind of terrifying thought that the universe might organize life, not just from standard carbon and water, but from extreme pressure, liquid metal, and raw electricity. It really forces us to expand our imagination way beyond the confines of Earth, which leaves us with one unforgettable question to ponder. What impossible element might forge an alien empire next? Think about it.
Please like and subscribe.